Happy Saturday. Today I have Trey Colbeck in the house from the Canadian Football Countdown podcast. How's it going, Trey?
Fantastic, man. Saturdays, man. I love Saturdays. It's great. Great day. I'm not a big hockey guy, but tons of hockey up in Canada. UFC is usually on Saturdays. Lots going on. In the summertime, you got baseball. Saturday's a beautiful day. Sunday, yep. I'm not a big religious guy, but Sundays is sitting on the couch, maybe doing nothing, maybe go to church. But Saturdays, there's just so much going on. I love it.
Yep. Agreed. It's always a nice break from the week, whether you want to go into something else or take your time off. It's cool to kind of recollect.
Exactly.
So, man, it's good to have you on. You were representing your show today. Great. Mm-hmm. Appreciate the attendance and appearance. I know originally we talked about this. It was planned pretty fast, so I really appreciate you coming on tonight, representing your show and telling us more about it.
Yeah, man, no disrespect to the other guys, you got the best guy, so it's okay. No, they're all beauties. They're all beauties. They're all diamonds, but you got the crown jewel here, so it's great.
Hey, I appreciate that, dude, and that's awesome. I love the confidence. Bring it on, please.
Since I was born, my parents said I'm the cockiest SOB they've ever met, so I got to keep it going.
Hey, confidence is needed, man.
Yeah. When I met my girlfriend even had to say, when we first met, I thought you were how is one guy this confident all the time? And now she knows me, it's a little different.
Well, it's good to have you, bro. Seriously. I've watched a few of y'all shows, and I'm not too in-depth with Canadian football myself just because I have so much other stuff going.
Of course.
It's really good to have a group of guys that are real people that follow these leagues and keep up with the updates. So your show is a really good show for people like me that, we just want to find out what's going on.
Oh, yeah, we're always happy to have new fans and love it. Football's football to me for the most part, right? As long as you're not whatever they do in Australia. I mean, that's still football to them, but in soccer, but football, American football or Canadian football, gridiron football, that's the good word. It's football to me. So.
Yes, sir. Agreed. I say alternative football, but to me, that just means, it's not the mainstream. It's not right. NFL. It's
anything but college. NFL and college, pretty much. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. A lot of people like to exchange spring football in there, but I'm a little iffy about that term at this point. We're going to hit on that a little bit there later on as well. But let's get on into it, dude. So, with you being the one coming on the show today, I want to just get to know you a bit. So tell me more about you. Describe yourself, your background, what you do.
Yeah, well, yeah. As a football fan, been a football fan since I can remember. CFL distinctly, because back when you're a kid, you don't realize the difference, right? You just see football on TV. I'm trying to explain to my kids now how the Super Bowl isn't what the Bombers can play for, right? And it's a tough thing for them to understand. But yeah, as long as I can remember, been a Blue Bomber fan mostly. That's Winnipeg, the home where I'm from, pretty much, and lifelong, all my family Blue Bomber fans. I didn't grow up in Winnipeg, but every birthday I asked for Blue Bomber tickets. As a kid, wanted to be a Blue Bomber. That's all I was. I think I went to Halloween one year as a Blue Bomber. As a normal kid. And as I grew up, more and more. Then I moved to Winnipeg as a grown up and season tickets and more. Just when you grow up and you realize more and more things, I was like, dang, this league's cool, coast to coast, right? And that's kind of my football background. Played a little bit in high school. Nothing crazy. Our high school in Canada, it's in rural Manitoba, isn't quite. We played 9-man, I think it was, or something like that. It wasn't top edge, but
on that topic, let me ask you quickly: do they follow the CFL rules in high school as well?
Here they do. Most provinces, yes. I believe Ontario is 4 downs now. Ontario and I can't remember. There's a couple provinces or a couple different leagues in different provinces that are 4 downs. I think the higher up ones where maybe the talent is more NFL caliber, they might go 4 downs. But yeah, a lot of places it's 3. I think Winnipeg is 3.
Understood.
And college is 3. Our university up here is 3. So
gotcha. Had to ask. I was curious about that.
Yeah. Other than that, 9-man. That was the only real difference. We had 9 guys on the field instead of the 12, which we'll talk about later. While we have 12 up here. So.
Sounds good. And
I give a quick recap on the other guys. I wrote it down for this. We got Ryan, the main guy. He's which is actually funny. Out of the 4 of us, he's the only one that doesn't have any schooling or background in media, but he's the main guy. He does most of the interviews and most of the stuff, and he like Boy Scouts, I call him the den mother. He keeps the rest of me, Adam, and Ryan, or me, Adam, and Mike are fighting. Ryan's like, "Hey guys, we're already at an hour and a half. We got to get this wrapped up." So that's what I love. But I'm also convinced he's a big numbers guy, big fantasy football. I've kind of slowly got him to get into the betting side. He loves numbers. I don't understand the computers. He says he makes these trackers. He makes these fantasy stats. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just convinced he's that guy that makes all those cool inventions on James Bond. Like, that's his job. But, yeah. And
Seems very intelligent.
Weird guy, like, respectfully, kind of looks a little nerd. He's got the glasses. He works from home. But then he's like 6'4". He's like a skyscraper. I was like, when I first met him, I was like, geez, man. Like, I'm a tall guy at 6'1", I thought. But no. Ryan's up there, and he's that. So him, Mike, the other co-founder of our show, he's more of a hockey guy. I think he does. He like broadcasts our like Manitoba Junior League, which would be like 15 to 17-year-olds hockey kids that are hoping to make it one step closer to the NHL kind of stuff. So that's what he's big into. He's on a hockey show, the Ultimate Hockey Show. I don't know if it's weekly on Twitter or X, but it's something up there. But yeah, he's kind of stepped back from football right now because he's got so much hockey stuff going on. There's like 100 games between the boys and the girls league for hockey, and if not more. And then he's got tournaments, and he does play calling, and he's ahead of it's wild. I helped him out with camera a couple times, and I'm like, I don't know how he keeps his head on. But yeah, we got Adam, the farmer of the group, from Saskatchewan, the only guy from Manitoba. Big time farmer. He's even got a YouTube channel, which I believe is called Farmer in Saskatchewan. So check that out if you're into combines and stuff. He also coaches Saskatchewan senior hockey, which is a guy I think it's a kind of a step above beer league, but it's not exactly big time. What do we call it? The unofficial official hockey team of the Canadian Football Countdown, the Theodore Buffaloes. So that's why he couldn't make it today. They got playoffs going, and like I don't know if you've ever seen it. There's a show called Letterkenny.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and I've never actually seen the spin-off Shoresy yet, but I just imagine that Adam is like that's it. That's his life right now with hockey, pretty much.
Busy man.
Yeah, he is a busy guy too. At the summertime, he's I don't even know, harvesting and all this. And then he texts me, "Hey, do you want to play Farm Simulator?" And I'm like, "You'd think you'd have enough, man." Like all the time.
Dude, I was gonna bring that up, but I didn't want to offend anybody. But that's it was on my brain.
Actually, it was free on PlayStation Plus or whatever, so I downloaded it. And Adam's like, "You play that?" And I was like, "Man, I just tried it out. It's so cool." And he's been bugging me whenever we have a quiet week. We want to live stream it because we've been doing some Madden and UFC video game live streaming for the show, but we haven't quite got to the Farm Simulator yet. We haven't had a demand.
When you get bored with that, you got to switch to the Power Washing Simulator.
I've heard that game's pretty killer, man. I've heard that's pretty awesome. Yeah. And me, I'm Trey. My main 9 to 5 is horse racing journalist. I work for a website, harnesslink.com, which is very interesting. It's based out of New Zealand, actually, and they have contributors, New Zealand, Australia, Europe, America, and Canada. And I'm, I guess, one of the 2 Canadian contributors. I do a horse racing show on there. Harness News Update. Just hit 25,000 views on that. So that's, there it is. Yeah. That's we do harness racing. I don't mind thoroughbred. Thoroughbred's okay. But harness racing's where it's at for me, man.
Dude, that looks intense. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, they don't go quite as fast, but I've known a few of those guys to break some ribs, break some legs. Actually, yeah, unfortunately, the guy closest, he had a bad spill a few years ago where he broke his leg right at the start, and it's still pretty dangerous. I know a guy too. He broke his leg, something dislocated his hip. Doctor told me he was done for at least a year. He comes back in 3 months. Wow. But that guy's a former bullfighter rodeo clown too, and this job, being a driver in this, is his like slowdown. Like that's what he's kind of is. So crazy sport. I used to be a racetrack, and I guess I still am a track announcer too, here in my home province. member of the United States Harness Racing Writers Association, and yeah, that's my main job, man.
That's awesome, dude.
You'll never catch me doing that. Like I'm the press box kind of guy.
I get it. I get it.
I went horseback riding in my life. It's not, it is what it is. It's fun. It's all right. It's something you do once in a while. Take the kids, but the people who wake up 4 a.m. every morning, go for a ride. That's not me, man.
Yeah, noticing. I mean, like this man, he doesn't look as small. You can't see me pointing, but the one on the closest to us, he doesn't look as small as a jockey. I mean,
he's a short guy.
Gotcha.
That's my boy Don. He isn't tallest. He isn't the tallest guy out there. But for this kind, you almost want to be a little taller to get your feet up in the stirrups. You don't want to be heavy. They actually say though, being heavy does with how physics work. It only really matters if the track is muddy. That's what they say. With the wheels and everything, 250-pound guy is kind of the same as a 180-pound guy, unless it's muddy. Then you're like, that horse is hauling ass, getting your fat ass around that track, right? But other than that, yeah, Don's, I don't know, 5'6", 5'6". Yeah, it's not, 4'10", like those jockeys you see at the Kentucky Derby, man. But actually, all those guys are probably under 6 feet there by chance. The guy was just talking about the leg, he's probably 6'1", my height. So, yeah.
Awesome sport, man. That's intense.
Seriously. Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah.
So do you enjoy that more than football?
I don't know. I don't know.
Put him on the line there.
It's got its times. You know what I mean? Like I like this sport because I guess maybe I'm into it more. So I know the guys. I talk to the guys. I know them. I know a lot coast to coast. Where football, I'm more just a fan. Like that's my job. It's a little different. I kind of only got it was actually a fluke how I got back into it. So I mean I only got into it. Oh man, what was it going to be? I was going through a divorce. That's what was going on, and I wanted to go back to school. And just right when I went back to school, I saw the local track here that I used to love going to as a kid, but hadn't went for years, looking for a track announcer. I said, heck with it, why not? Did track announcing for a summer. Got an internship at this place where I was writing, and next, 4 or 5 years later, now here I am, and getting to be. I feel like I'm the guy. There's a lot of good people in the country, but Western Canada. You come to me. You come to me if you need anything.
Understood. Y'all heard the man. Come to him. Western Canada. That's where he's at. So tell me a little bit more about the pod. So when did this start? I guess who started it, when, and how did you come about joining?
Well, yeah, the main guys, Ryan and Mike, Ryan Coop and Mike Garrell, they've been buddies for a while. Can't remember. Maybe they went to school together or something. They started this back in 2014. Jeez, wow. I graduated the year before that. And they started this podcast. But it was called
I was still in college myself.
Yeah, I would have been my first year. My first time I went to university was in 2014.
It was my second.
Yeah. And they started it, the 3 Down Football Show. Years later, or throughout time, they slowly changed it to the Canadian Football Countdown. Over 250 episodes. The most notable, though, they do the yearly 8-hour free agency show, which I'll talk about a little later, I'm sure. Every February, that's on Tuesday. Coming Tuesday this year. And then in 2022, Mike and Adam, there it is, decided to expand the group. And that's how myself and Adam got onto this. I got on because there's like a question that said like, oh, what unique would you bring in? So I said some garbage about because I work in horse racing, I'd be good at football betting, and so that's stuck. I'm the betting expert now. So every year I have to have the best betting record amongst the guys. And was that just the other day? Yeah, I was rough the other day. I was having a long day.
Considering what you do, I'm sure you're wore out by the time you jump on this, unless y'all do it in the AM.
No, we do 9:30. We do it. We go live 9:30s usually, even live or pre-recorded. And that was Wednesday when we did it. I had my horse show in the morning, and I think I did my UFC podcast on Thursday morning. So I was pretty tired at that point, man. But yeah, that's Adam wearing his Rough Rider hat on the right, and Ryan on the other. That's James Bond's right-hand man, Q. Ryan right there. So his llama pictures, love it. And and Adam, I don't know what Adam bullshitted on his resume to get on the show, but he's been a great guy, man. The fact that we'll get into it more, but me, Ryan, and Mike, we're all from Winnipeg. We're all Blue Bomber fans. Adam, being from Saskatchewan, that's our arch rival, Saskatchewan. So the fact that we can get together every week and make jokes and talk football, it's great.
Yeah, it is great. I've watched some of your shows. I don't watch them all just because there's so much shit to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that, I mean, you can see here I've watched 24 minutes of this one. I've watched more than I thought I would, and the conversation really gets me where I'm interested instead of just listening to a news, broadcast or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah, see, like I think I'm hit and miss with podcasts. I think there's one podcast I listen to religiously, and that's the Tony Kornheiser show. I love Tony K from PTI, like one of the best sports guys in history. Other than that, you can't catch me watching anything. Like I just don't.
Yeah.
You don't really care. And it's bad because being a journalist and a writer, I'll write things. I don't read anything. I don't care. Someone's like, "Oh, this is a great story." I look at the picture. Okay, and I know what happened from the headline. And it's a bad thing, but yeah. Like, maybe that's my cockiness. You read me. I don't read you. But
I try to treat things on my end that. We're all gathering our knowledge for whatever base you want it to be. And I don't need anyone telling me what to think. I just need someone to tell me what's going on. And so that's where I kind of stand with whether it be world news or sports.
That's
whatever.
the thing. I think that's been my one not problem, but one thing hard getting into these American alternative leagues, because I never know what's going on, right? It sounds like one folds, a new one pops up, another one folds, they stop paying players. Oh, The Rock bought this one, but The Rock doesn't. You know what I mean? You hear all this, and you're just and for me, I'm like, man, it's hard enough to keep up with 9 teams in the CFL, 32 in the NFL, and now you want me to care about 8 more in 2 or 3 different spring leagues. It's tough, right?
So, it is tough. Yep.
Yeah.
As far as content, I mean, personally, I enjoy others' content, but I find if I don't do my own thing, you start trying to use ideas or respond to discussions or I don't want anybody else's stuff to dictate my show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I veer off from everything. Yeah, dude. Super sweet show. I'm going to go to the comments. We got a few comments. Don't want to get them hanging.
I'm usually bad. I can't take my ADHD. I usually see the comments, but I've been avoiding them today.
I hate to interrupt a guest when we're having a good convo.
Oh no, go with the comments. Conversation. If it wasn't for these fine listeners, we wouldn't even be here, right?
Oh, true. These are part of the team as well. Some of the contributors on the team. So DeMarcus, he said the XFL actually helped me be a bigger CFL fan. Looking forward to this coming season. Agreed on that as well. I mean, I found the love I didn't know I had for alternative sports from these other leagues.
Yeah.
And he had a question. DeMarcus, I'm going to save your question for the end.
Yeah. I got caught on that.
Oh, Mike. Let me see. Mike, what were you talking about? He said that's the name. Been trying to remember the name of the show. I think we were discussing Farming Simulator or something.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So next we have Mike again. He said Matt knows my resume, both lines. So we were discussing the resume part, or what experience you had, and he's agreeing. He's 2 lines. That's it. I asked Mike.
I hate making resumes.
When we started, like when I first started building my website, I asked all the contributors I had at that time. There were only 6 or 7. Like, hey, can I get a write-up of everybody, 3 or 4 sentences, and I'm going to put you on the site. Send me a picture, send me a write-up. I'll put you on the site. Mike's like, I'm not doing that. No. Respect to you, sir. No worries. Yeah. Oh, Michael, what's up, Mike? Mike does Player 54 podcast. Michael, I appreciate you listening tonight. He said, looking forward to checking the CFL show out. Yeah, they're great guys, man. I think you'd enjoy the conversation as well, especially the live combo.
Yeah, we're going to get back in the live here. It's just tough. I get off season. It's tough. We pre-record. Ryan's got a newborn. I got kids, Adam's hockey and stuff. So sometimes we don't even record till 10 o'clock at night, and then we just post it first thing in the morning. But season time, we go live usually, and it's a good time. And we'll do the same thing. Throw your comments in, and we'll try to help if there's any fans here that want to come check it out,
Seriously, I'll be watching come CFL season because I don't plan on covering that personally or doing a show on it or anything. So I'll be there. But I'll tell you, it's cool that you're getting some more engagement from, some other entities other than just the Canada crowd. Brahma Bulletin, he's another contributor. He said, very excited to have you guys as part of the AFN family. Don't know much about the CFL, but I'm sure after watching y'all, I'll be an expert. Yeah, I think you would too, dude. And I think Brahma Bulletin, you'd especially enjoy the way they talk. It's a good time. Oh, and Mike G responded. He said, Letterkenny. That's what it was.
Great.
Yeah, man. Let's roll on. So you got your show. It's a sweet show. What's some of your goals when covering the CFL? What do you guys really try to hit on or not hit on? What's kind of your jam?
My biggest thing, and I think for the most part, is we try to hit all 9 teams, right? Even though we cheer for, the 4 of us cheer for 2 teams that are a 6-hour drive from each other. We try to go coast to coast. I think we do. We've been told we do a pretty good job. At times everyone turns into a homer, but honestly, I find for sure myself from the Blue Bombers and Adam on the Rough Riders, we're the biggest critics. So, we hate on our own teams just as much as we hate on the other 8. So It's pretty fair. Ryan is the most honest guy you'd meet. Like I could never imagine him like stealing something. He won't jaywalk. He puts all his recycling in the right place because he honest to God would just be like, hey, the Bombers didn't do it. Like he wants everything to be fair, fun, and collected. Mike, if you watch it, he doesn't come on as much anymore, but he's a fun guy. I love Mike. He just he gets a little homery, but whatever. He's a Leafs fan and he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. So that tells you what that says enough.
Okay, I see. we should have some Dallas fans listening right now. I know Mike G's a Dallas fan.
Yeah, but I love Mike. But you just again, he's a great media guy. Like he does a fantastic job with his hockey and stuff. So we try to cover everything. But I feel like for most time we spend on it, and the thing that our fans want the most is fantasy and betting, right? That is where it all is. And fantasy, not quite where it should be in the CFL right now, but there's a demand for it, right? Because we see what our friends down south, like NFL, how many is there? Like 10, 20 different apps you could use, if not more.
A lot.
And some, like I know myself, I'm in 3 or 4 NFL leagues every year, and it's it's a big demand, and but it's tough with 9 teams, and some weeks only 6 play with buys and stuff. So fantasy gets a little tight, but makes it work. In betting, betting. How often can you watch TV without a betting commercial? Like, how many times have we seen Gronk and FanDuel and that stupid kick? Like, you know what I mean? That's all you see on
So you
TV.
guys get those too, huh?
Yeah, we do get those too. And it really took off up here. We single game betting only got legalized a year or 2 ago. We could always do parlays, but single game betting, and once that got legalized in Canada, everything just took off for all sports, right? So, yeah. So that's what. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't remember what I was gonna say.
You're like me. I do the same stuff.
Yeah. I was just spying.
In terms of your apps, so you guys don't have ESPN or like a legitimate, big 3 or 4 app for
not for CFL. No, we have those up here, but that's only other sports, right? But everything CFL is just based off the CFL's website.
Understood. So they update stats pretty regularly during the season.
At least you're honest. There's hiccups. There was a stats issue to speak. They did a whole system reboot this year, and it probably took until I don't even know week 5 or 6 before stats were somewhat normal, where you could just you type in Google, you say what's the score of this game, it wouldn't even be accessible. Like Google couldn't, like for whatever reason they weren't sharing their, I don't know the computer term, but sharing their accessibility, the key or whatever for others to access it, including the fantasy. And sometimes there's the same player up twice. There's stupid little things that are going to happen in the league. That's not, the big 4, right? And stuff. So
that was my question. I was curious.
Yeah.
So you guys do a lot of betting and fantasy coverage. What other goals do you have? I know, so Tuesday you're doing the free agent roundup. I mean, tell us more about that. What's that entail?
Yeah, so was it 9 a.m. Central Time till about 5 p.m. Central Time? We're going to be live covering. This year it's a little weird. a lot of things have been done beforehand, because there's this legal tampering window. So a lot of that has been, a lot of players have been doing handshakes with the team. So all the news has come out. So on Tuesday, we don't have a tons about going over, but yeah. And I think we got about 9 or 10 guests or something like that lined up throughout the day, different podcast people. I believe we got some play-by-play of some teams. Yeah, for a few different people. So again, if for the people who want to check out CFL, 8 hours is a long time. I get that, but maybe break it up into, half an hour bits, interview bits over the next couple of weeks or something, and you'll learn a lot. And yeah, it's the big money maker. It's like probably the most viewed video is our last year's, and so yeah.
That's awesome, man. I mean, I'm excited for it. I've seen some of the guests that you guys have put out, and it looks really cool. Seriously. I know when we talked, I was trying to get you guys on before that period to try to advertise you a little bit. So hopefully we will get you some more people watching.
That was good. I love it.
So any other goals before we move forward?
Just to all be friends at the end of the year. That's about it, man.
I like it. I'm the same. Exactly.
Yeah, just and make sure we keep it fun. And for the most part, we have a Discord channel too, and a lot of people talking there, and it's very fun. And maybe you get this too. Like, it's weird kind of having fans.
Yeah.
Oh, there's my alarm going off. You know what I mean? And one guy, one of our fans, he says his kids even kind of watching us argue and stuff. And I'm like, man, we got kids watching this show, man. Like, I'm hitting my pen and swearing, and there's kids watching this. You could have told me that, but yeah, it's fun. It's weird, and we just want to keep look at the fun. Crap happens in every league. We talk about suspension sometimes. We talk about the league messing up, but at the end of the day, we want the league to succeed, because it's, regardless of the sport, I'm sure you have this sometimes with minor league baseball, minor league this. It's cool to have a team, you know what I mean, in your city. It doesn't matter if they're NFL, it doesn't matter if they're AA, right? In baseball, as long as you have a team in your city. And Winnipeg was blessed. We have so many sports now, so it's nice to have everything.
What you say and what your approach there, it's very similar in what I try to do with my podcast. In terms of the network, that's kind of why I started the network, was just to get everybody together so we could all be friends and share content. And that's kind of what I intend to do with everything as well.
Yeah.
Very similar. So let's go back to the comments, see what we got. Michael Lathrop said, pitter patter. Then XFL Mike G come in. He said, first time I bumped into Trey on Facebook, I asked him if we knew we had a partner that covered the CFL. I saw this exchange. I wish
that was great. I just I couldn't tell if he was no tone on text and snap and that. I'm like, is he messing with me? Like, is he putting it for everybody else? I'm like, I get it. And I was like, and then I had to watch how I say it, because I don't want to come off as a dick back. Or I'm like, oh, yeah, that's my show, bro. Like, I know. Like, yeah. I love it.
I mean, we've got so many partners and contributors now. It's hard to keep up unless you're me and doing the whole website and contacting everybody. It's super difficult.
I screenshotted the exchange and sent it to our private Discord to the guys, and I said, hey, at least they're advertising our show, man. Like, that doesn't matter. At least it was a quick response. They advertised it. We're the only CFL show on the website right now. Like, we got it, man.
You are the CFL guys, in our opinion. So keep doing what you're doing. I've got a list of partners here, and then we've got 15 contributors as well, not counting me. And I'm not going to put that list up because I want to do a real write-up of that. But I have a list of the partners, and you could see it's just a bunch of different entities here.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Dude, it's so cool. I enjoy it so much. And like, even this conversation here facilitates this conversation we probably would have never had if it wasn't for this.
Exactly.
So let's go into a little bit more different questions here. Tell me, what's your personal most enjoyable experience podcasting?
It
doesn't even have to be the CFL stuff. It can be anything. I don't know.
We just got some crazy moments, man, on the show. Like, the first time, I wish I had timestamps just so people could go back and watch. We were gonna do a top whatever moment of the year show, and we just never got around to it for New Year's. But like one time, I ordered pizza because I was high out of my mind, and I wanted pizza, thinking that the pizza would come after the show. But or you know, when you prepay for it, the guy will just leave it at your door.
Yep.
No, 20 minutes left in the show. I'm getting a bang Domino's. And I'm just like, so I have to go, and then I come back with this big large pizza, and it was just me and Ryan. I think that show, and Ryan's like, "What are you doing, man?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm hungry. Like, what do you want from me, man?" Like, you know, I wanted pizza. Some other things. It's been a first time I told Mike I don't think home field advantage matters. The face he got, I love that, and that's a hill I'm pretty close to dying on. That. It's not what it once was. You know, some places, sure, you go to Buffalo in January, it's gonna suck. Like, you know, it's gonna suck. But you know, what's the difference between Tampa and Miami? You know, or different cities? Like, there are certain advantages, I guess, sleeping in your bed. But most of these guys are pros, right? Like, they are most, especially in the CFL. Most of these guys come from America. They're in new country, so they're sleeping in a different bed anyway. You know, their families aren't up here anyway. You know, busy. What's home field? So when he made that face, that was great. Me and Mike have got great exchanges over the years. My two moments of glory last offseason, I picked my betting pick for Grey Cup winner. Bet cashed out. I picked Montreal in the offseason, so that was great. And we do our top 5 positions, and I picked Chad Kelly, who ended up being MOP. And that one got internet buzz. People thought I was a few screws loose, and it was just for clout and this and that. And then I kept the receipts, and when he won MOP, I tweeted all those people back and said, "What was that? What was that about?" So yeah, that's my favorite moments.
You got to call them out if they're going to attack.
And I'll be honest. So 2 years ago, it was only because he had he came in back up in the Grey Cup against Winnipeg. And I guess it kind of ties into that one question before too. And he had maybe 2 drives, and those 2 drives were just enough for me to be like, no, he won the Grey Cup. And to me, if you win the championship, you have the right to be the number one, right? Yeah. You know, kind of the thing. Like, if he did enough, even though the other quarterback, Bethel Thompson, who spent some time, was it in the USFL?
Yep.
Yeah. And then he's back now this year in the CFL, but got hurt. Chad Kelly came in, and Chad Kelly had played a pretty good season in 2023. So, you know, that's my shining moment.
Yeah, you
and Montreal to win their Grey Cup. I just put I had $5 extra on my account. I just said, screw it, threw it on there. And then it was something I forgot about too until about September, October. And then I'm checking, you know, active bets, and I'm like, who made this bet on Montreal? Because they were barely in the playoffs at the time, and then I think they won like 10 straight or something like that, 9 straight, 10 the year in playoffs. So it worked out okay. And so watching the Grey Cup this year, you have the betting side and the fan side. So when I'm seeing touchdowns Montreal, I'm just like, yeah, man, let's go.
How much cash did you win, if you don't mind me asking?
It was like a $3 bet, so it was like $40. And then that week,
that's good return, buddy.
Yeah, and then that week I put about another $10 on them all week, so that kind of thing. So I can't, you know, I was very into Montreal this year. If I was sitting objectively, it was definitely Montreal, which hurt some people in my family, but that's okay.
I mean, if you're going to speak from an objective mind point, you're going to have to let go with some of the fandom. There's just no way around it.
I'll tell. I've said it on our podcast. So this year's pick, $5 on the Saskatchewan Roughriders to win the Grey Cup would be $75 at this point. So that's my off-season bet. So they got some big additions and stuff. So we could, and if you want to hear it, we'll talk about that on Tuesday for sure.
Yeah. Look forward to it, man. And hey, good luck. I hope you win it again, sir.
Win's a win, man. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter, man.
What's your? So you've already told me your favorite CFL team. So just skip that. What about American stuff? What what do you keep up with over here?
Me personally, it's whoever's on my fantasy team and whoever part is my parlay. Right, that's about it. Right, for me, Ryan's the same way. He's not a better, but fantasy. Adams of Cleveland Browns and Mike's Dallas Cowboys. How about that, boys? Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah,
pretty cool. At least to know that you guys pay attention as well.
Yeah, Ryan's been the newest one. The rest of us have been NFL forever. Ryan, we got him into it kind of around when me and Adam joined the podcast. He's like, well, since everyone else is, and then he's a fan, like I said, fantasy nerd. So once he found out fantasy down there is even better, it was game over for him, right? So, and he thinks red zone's the greatest invention in the history of sports, which I don't disagree with. It's amazing. I love. You don't like red zone?
I
love
used to like it. I don't like it anymore.
I love red zone, and I
liked Sunday Ticket much better last year.
That's fair, but just having just the jumping around sports and like that, where you can't have that. We like in the CFL obviously, and no other sport really has mimicked it. Hockey tried it this year. I think the NHL tried it this year, and I don't really watch hockey, which is
I'm surprised. Weird. I figured you'd be a hockey guy.
I don't mind it. I'm more of a summer sport. My winter sport's curling, man. That's a whole other podcast. I could talk hours about curling too.
Yeah, man. Dude, I don't know nothing about that. Not a clue. That's where they throw the thing on the ice and it slides, right? And lands in the target zone. Yeah. You take the brooms and sweep the shit out of it.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how much that actually changes things.
Hey, I don't doubt it. I just never paid any attention.
Yeah.
It's like we talked about. I mean, previous, it's like you can only do so much with these leagues. It's so much your brain has the capacity to keep up with.
Exactly.
So I'm glad we got through that. Let's get I got a couple tougher questions for you before we hop off air. And good interview, by the way. We're timing it out perfect.
It's great.
So, do you consider the CFL spring football?
No. And this is no disrespect to these other leagues, you guys. Like it the two things I got is just the stability of it, right? That's my big thing. Where if you count it as spring, I guess technically the CFL is a spring league if you're talking about time of year, just because we start in June, which is technically a spring month, but when we play summer, fall. So, it's that aspect, I guess. But when you say spring, there's that connotation to it, right? Where it's a little, it's not the NFL. The CFL by no means is the NFL, but if I'm going to tier them, I definitely put NFL 1, CFL on 2, and then these other ones on 3. And that's not to be an insult. It's just the stability of it. 110-year Grey Cup or 112-year Grey Cup, CFL since the 60s. Some of the Toronto Argonauts are the oldest team in North America, like in any sport, kind of thing. We got history like that. The Saskatchewan-Winnipeg's rivalry is unmatched to anything in Canada. Probably the best I could say is Leafs Canadians kind of stuff. And we're very Red Sox Yankees with it. There's just so much history that I want the UFL to succeed. And in 50 years, when we're telling our grandkids about it, I hope it's still there. And at that point, it's what the CFL is kind of now and stuff. I hope that. But right now, I have to put the CFL on a little bit different plane just because, we've had guys like, my name skipped me right now. Warren Moon, we've had historic guys, Flutie. There's a go. Flutie was the one I was really thinking of. Historic guys, records. Our leading passer, I'm pretty sure, has more than Tom Brady. I thought at one point maybe Tom Brady passed him near the end of his career, but kind of thing. So different things like that, which makes me just think the history of it keeps it above.
I agree with that. I can respect history and age, and
I understand from it's different perspectives, right? When majority of Americans probably never even heard of the CFL. If you did, you're thinking it's like the KHL or the Swedish Hockey League or some league on the other side of the world. Why do we care about it, right? Or the Japanese Baseball League, stuff like that, where it's probably good sport, but I don't care about it. And but now, but from our perspective, where, like I said, I used to, when I was 18, walk to the stadium. I'd go to McDonald's, fill up a cup of Coke, pour half of it out, pour rum, walk to the stadium. And, every Friday night and just, it's just the history. And you can't, a city like Winnipeg. So if you don't know Winnipeg, our hockey team, the Jets, left in the 90s, 95. And they just returned in 2010, 2011, whenever we bought the Thrashers. And from those, even though the Bombers sucked during that time, it kept the city together, right? Like we had nothing else going on other than football. So it's just the way how these teams are in the communities they're in. Like Hamilton's not the biggest city in the world. Saskatchewan's like Regina is a city of 300,000, if that. Wow. Winnipeg's we're under 1 million. Hamilton, I don't think's that big. It's it's just so we're like the Packers. Like every city's kind of like the Packers, where it's community owned. A lot. 3 of the teams are community owned.
Gotcha.
Even the ones that aren't, they feel like it.
That makes more sense to me when you say that. Once you,
Yeah.
I could relate it immediately.
And that's my one thing with the UFL and X. Like a lot of them, they play in these bubbles still, don't they? Some of them do, or am I wrong on that?
So in the UFL, is that what you mean?
Or didn't one of the when there was 2 leagues, didn't one of them play in some kind of hub?
Yeah. So they were both in hubs.
Yeah.
The XFL was more of a hybrid hub system.
Okay.
So they would come together and do a lot together, but they still separated out to play and do their actual events. Whereas the USFL was a full hub system where 2 teams were housed in each city.
Right, and then it's kind of hard, even though there's a city name attached to it. It's kind of hard for fans to be like, "Oh, this is my team," though, right? Like it's
exactly
you can't you got to probably drive a few hours or even fly to go watch a game or what yeah.
Yeah. I'm close to New Orleans.
Like I could see the stadium. Like I just moved. I just passed the stadium today. You know what I mean? I could see it 99% of my drives around the city. You just see the stadium, right?
Dude.
So, and it's there. And when I go to Regina, you just see it, right? Like it's amazing.
That's my issue with that hybrid system. That hub system.
Yeah.
I thought the football was good. I have no problem with it, and hope I don't piss anybody off by saying that, but that's why fans didn't really want to come for the most part.
Right.
The attendance was better for the XFL just because that city had that team, and that was that city's team. And I think this year you're going to see a much different change of pace though with the UFL.
Yeah,
it's looking good, and we'll truly see, I guess, how much the fans love it with those attendance numbers.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like the TV deals have been okay, haven't they? There's some TV support, and
they've got a good schedule coming. A lot of mainstream games, a lot of stuff that you can pick up, with your antenna and such too. It's not all going to be app based. Where like XFL last year, you could get some games on TV, but if you really wanted to watch the games, you had to have the ESPN Plus app, and you had to use ESPN Plus to stream it. And that was pain.
I kept seeing it because we have TSN and they have ESPN stuff, so I have TSN Plus. So like that's how I watched my 20 minutes of the XFL last year, is because it was on TSN. But I mean, TSN didn't overly advertise it because it's but it was there.
That's cool that they reviewed it though. Seriously. Let me go into some comments real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, David Burns. He said, watching from Cedar Hill, Texas. I went to Mardi Gras last night, and my voice is shot. I'm scratchy, throat hurting.
That happens.
But yeah, thank you for watching, David. Appreciate you, man. XFL Mike G said, "Don't get me started on pizza stories and podcasts."
Does he have his own, I guess, or what?
Maybe he's talking about the conspiracy theories that are out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he one of those guys?
No. There's no telling. He'll tell us. He's listening.
Okay, yeah.
KJ Disciple, Coke and rum, man. Respect it.
When I was a more heavy drinker, that's all I drank, man. I've been good. A couple beers on certain days now, kind of guy. When you get older, it's like 3 beers and you're hungover. Like I can't do it anymore. Yeah,
I'm right there with you. I have to drink like clear liquor, or I'm hungover.
That's true too. Beer. I get so tired after beers, like 3 or 4 beers. I'm just like, I'm so ready for bed. But if I do hard liquor, then I'm just ready to party all night. Yep. And I'm like, there's nowhere for me to go.
Yeah, I look like a pregnant lady too when I drink beer. Stomach just pooches out.
Oh yeah, I hear that.
Oh, XFL Mike G said there has to be a reason to commit emotionally to a team. Yeah, I agree with that, dude. You got to have some love for it. You got to connect emotionally to the league itself, whether you have a team or not.
Yeah.
All right. And then right here, XFL Mike G said, Julian? ? What are you talking about, Mike G? Tell me what you mean by that. He'll fill us in just a second. Okay, so my last big question, and I figured you were going to spend some time on this one. I hope you reviewed.
I did. I had to remember them all. Sometimes I forget them.
Yeah, after looking up, I didn't realize there were so many. I thought I knew until I started really researching it, and my God, there's quite a few differences. And unless a situation happens, you may not even know that is the effect that rule has, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go with compare the differences between American football and Canadian football, and hit hit the big boys and try to explain as you go and do the best you can. But guys at home, if you listen and you're confused, there's a lot of resources online to figure this out. I promise.
There's even a couple rules that we scratch our heads for too. There's a new one not new one, but a couple that have been exploited in the last year or two that we're like, what the heck is this? But we'll start the big ones. The first one you'll notice, first drive, we have only 3 downs instead of 4. You're gonna be like, why are they punting on 3rd down? No, that's just what we do. Which I actually love it to the degree because I think that it's a somewhat of an equalizer with maybe the slightly lesser talent. It's an equalizer in the long run. I don't mind it. Our scores are very similar to the 4-down football. It doesn't really change anything. So 3 downs is the way to go. Julian from Trailer Park Boys. Yeah, okay, yeah. There we go. I was like, I should know that. Longest time, didn't know that was Canadian show myself. So
what? Even I knew that, dude. I learned that when I was 19, I think. I love Canada after I watched that show.
Oh, I didn't even know it was Canadian. And I'm watching the first episode, and there's a guy in a moped, and he's got a Nova Scotia flag. And I'm like, why the hell does this guy got a Nova Scotia flag? And then later they're like, oh, we're going down to Halifax. I'm like, this is in Nova Scotia? I didn't know. Anyway, but yeah, that one was on me. But the show makes a heck of a lot more sense after figuring that out.
Agreed.
Yeah, the downs, 3 downs. It is what it is. And anytime there's talk of adding the 4th one, God, man, like the fans go wild. Like it's the one that I think it's the one hill most fans would die on, if I had to be honest.
Wow.
They might be able to get rid of some of these other ones. I'll go into one I kind of forgot. We also have a ratio, so you have to have so many Canadians on your roster and on your as listed as starters. I believe it's 20 or 21 out of the 44.
Wow.
And then we also have an international now, a global player that has to be out there as well. And then so the Bombers for a few years, I think we just lost him, but we had Theatric Hansen from Germany. A lot of teams have an Australian guy punting or something, but Hansen was a defensive line. So something like that. But yeah, the ratio is a big one. I think you have to have at least 7 starters amongst defense and offense. And each coach you designate, like you can have 5 offense and 2 defense. You could do 4 and 3. You could go 7-0 if you really wanted, but you have to stay that the whole game.
Gotcha.
There's some new rules they've added that certain American players who have been on a team for so long can count in certain situations, but that's a CBA thing that went over all of our heads, even when they talked about it this time last year. So,
sounds confusing.
But for the most part, if you're born in Canada, there's some iffy things too. So actually interesting, we talk about The Rock when he played in the CFL momentarily way back in the day. He actually, today's standards, he would have been considered a Canadian. So he would have likely never been cut because he only was cut because of his passport, because that Canadian value. So it's very interesting now. So now if your parent is Canadian, you know anything to do with Canada, you can be deemed a Canadian and get that status. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. The next one, the clock. We have 4 15-minute quarters, like everything, but it's our play clock. That's the big one. We have a 20-second play clock. It doesn't start right at the end of the play like the NFL does. It starts arbitrarily when the head ref deems the ball's set and everything, for the most part. So, yeah. So again, that kind of keeps it. So you could literally have each team could have a possession 3 times within 5 minutes, kind of thing. We see that a lot near the end of the game. In the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game, each team could have the ball 3 or 4 times. We don't have these 9-10 minute drives of Tom Brady milking the clock, right? You don't if you have that, that's wild. Like it's happened, but not a lot.
Let's go back to the 3 downs rule.
Yeah.
And in your opinion, is that there to increase that speed of play, I guess, make it less boring?
So. Yeah, because there's a slogan we've always used up here, no lead is safe. Like that you could be up 30-10, at half, and that could go down in a heartbeat. A quick pick, you could punt the ball twice, 3 or 4 times in a quarter, right? And the other team scores. I remember witnessing the Blue Bombers. We were down 14 at the 3-minute mark, and we came back to win it, or 13 and came back to win it, kind of thing. You see that a lot in the CFL, and 3 downs and the clock rule definitely helps with that.
Gotcha.
And then the clock at 20 seconds. I'll throw this in here too. We have 2 timeouts per. Each team has 2 timeouts for the whole game.
Wow.
2. So and I can't remember the challenging rules. I think you get one, and if you win it, you get a second. Something like that. And then if you lose your first one, you lose the timeout. So challenges are very, very iffy. Timeout, the thing with the 20-second clock, though, the timeouts, again, don't really matter. It's not like the NFL where those 3 timeouts late fourth quarter really matter to get the ball back. If you stop with a minute and 2 left, you stop them, you're getting the ball back still with 60 seconds, right?
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So they're not as valuable as the NFL is, but they come into play, especially with the challenges. Our challenging is a little bit more open too. We have the ability to challenge pass interference for one. I hate it, but it's there. There's also certain rule we learned this year. You can challenge holding, but only on special teams plays. We learned that one. Our Winnipeg coach pulled that one out of his hat. He's a crazy guy, that one, for knowing the rules. And then other than that, it's a classic catch, not catch, fumble, beat in bounds kind of thing, right? That challenging is used for. But we also do have the command center, because we only have one game on at a time. The command center can override certain things too.
That's cool.
So at some point, certain things. They introduce something to a player, get concussion protocol. You're out for 5 plays or whatever until you're deemed fine. It's all for player safety. Go to the field next. This one's another one. You might not notice you'll notice it once you get to midfield. We have 110 yards long, so our midfield's 55, not the 50. We're 65 yards wide, so we're a lot wider than the 53 1/3. Is that 53 1/3? And 20-yard end zones instead of 10. So our end zones are deeper, a lot wider field, longer field.
Wow.
And our upright position might be weird for you, where the uprights are outside the field goal. Ours are in play. And if the ball hits it, it's a dead ball, throwing or kicking, I believe. So it's you got a little obstacle in your way to deal with it.
Most Americans, when you talk CFL, that's what I've heard over my life. Ever since I was young, it's where they have the goalpost on the field. That's the biggest thing that I've heard. Always.
Our version of the doink was Western Finals 2019. My Winnipeg Blue Bombers were at Adams, Saskatchewan Roughriders. 6-7 point game like that. Riders were 3rd and inches or 3rd and goal, and their quarterback hits the ball right off the uprights. And it's just the 2 loudest stadiums by hands down, Saskatchewan and Winnipeg's. And Saskatchewan, playoff game in November. It's cold. There's a lot of beer flowing. You could hear a pin drop after that ball hit that, because everyone's just like, oh man, Oh, sorry. Yes, if it hits the upright and goes in, it counts. I just more meant because we can return field goals, which I'll talk about later. And I believe if it hits and goes off, it's dead, I believe. But we'll get to that when we get there too.
I'm trying to let you, I want to say stuff, but I
know
go
for it. If you have questions,
it's just going to confuse the rules, though. We're trying to stick to the rules as we go.
Yeah.
They kind of melt into each other.
Yeah, if you have any questions here, but because the field's wider, we also have 12 players on the field instead of 11. So when we have a crazy loud crowd, instead of saying the 12th man, we are the 13th man up here. So it's definitely interesting. It helps things out. I guess that extra position would be like a receiver on offense and just an extra quarter. I guess you could use it anyway, depending on your setup, but that's what I was going to ask. It's usually like that. Yeah. We don't really have. Yeah, we don't really have a tight end position in the CFL either. Like, we don't have Travis Kelce's and those kind of guys. We do, but they play out wide. Like, they play receiver mostly. And they're called slot backs, which we'll get to that. Slot backs. The slot back is pretty much the receivers that don't line up on the line. And they have a fun thing we call the waggle, that they get a running start before the ball. As long as they don't pass the line of scrimmage, it's fine. They can start as far back as they want. They have unlimited motion. It's crazy. And
so that's just one player, right? Is that an established player that can do that? Or?
Any player, any of the so what? There, if you have 5 receivers, right? So you have the 5 offensive linemen and the 2 wideouts that have to be on the line. Any receiver that's not those 2 guys, they get a run start.
Interesting.
So there's 3 or 4 guys getting a head run start every play. I guess depending on your package. So usually about 3 or 4.
That's awesome. I've watched games and seen that before, and just like, oh my.
So that's when if you watch the Miami Dolphins, a lot of people said they use a lot of motion, and they got compared a lot to the CFL because that's as close as you can get to CFL, their motion with guys like Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Those guys would be wild up here. Oh man, it wouldn't even be fair.
No.
So you got guys, and then that which opens more space on the bigger field too, right? When you got quarterbacks, they're like, hey, this guy's going to charge full speed at me instead of I can't play the line. You can't bump him at the line, right? Well, you can, but he might go right by you, right? So you got to play 5-10 yards back, and those guys are going to. It makes things very interesting.
A quick note: I coached high school. I coached some high school and then middle school and other stuff along the way, but I had a team that they had a lot of speed and that spread motion concepts. I mean, you can wreak havoc on a defense.
Yeah,
fastest guy moves. Something's happening. Oh, is it? Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, so that's why there's different players, like guys that we got guys up here who are speedy, who, it's amazing that their speed doesn't get them into the NFL, but they just don't have size. Maybe they don't have the hands, problem in college, whatever, right? And but then they get the wider field, the waggle, game over. And actually the wider field we have tons of kick returns too, right? Like for touchdowns and stuff like that, punt returns, field goal returns for touchdowns all the time. Like that's probably one of the most exciting plays to have. And field goals is the best because you get these old big offensive linemen, and then you get some guy, the fastest guy on the other team, running the other way. You got these, a bunch of 250, 300-pound offensive linemen trying to chase down the speed guy. You get a lot. Those 50, 60-yard field goals are very dicey chance in the CFL. So
while we're on that subject, I mean, you can score from missing that, correct?
The Rouge. Yeah, we'll get to the Rouge. So we'll start with kicking. Yeah, the Rouge is at any time the ball is kicked either through the end zone without going through the uprights, obviously, or it's kicked into the end zone and the return team doesn't bring it out. It's 1 point for the kicking team. Gotcha. And that is kickoffs, field goals, and punts. Everything. And actually, even sometimes you'll see something wacky at the end of the game where it's a 1 point game. You'll see the guys, they'll throw it out to the receiver and he'll try to punt it through the end zone just to get that 1 point. And if they got it through, it's 1 point. We're going to OT, right? So it's and sometimes there's a couple of historic plays. I'm sure if you YouTubed it or something where the teams kick it back and forth at each other a few times because the other team's like, no, we're getting the ball out of here. We don't want that. Like, I'm deep end zone. I got to get it out. So they'll kick it out, and then the other team kicks it back. It looks like rugby, or something like that.
That's cool, though. I got to check that out now.
My one issue, I don't like the missed point on the field goal. If I'm being completely honest, I would be, if the kick returner catches it and doesn't bring it out, by all means, 1 point, fine. But you just kick it as hard as you can, and it's a 1 point. Like, again, a tied game, you don't even have to make the field goal to win.
Yeah,
you just got to kick it through the end zone. Yeah, but it makes the scores more interesting, too. We get wacky numbers that you don't. As it Snoop Dogg once historically put on his Twitter, the score was 4-1 or something. He's watching a game up here, and he's like, how the hell is Toronto and Hamilton 4-1? Well, one team had a field goal in a Rouge, and the other one had a Rouge. So, it happens. And
baseball numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Which kind of brings us more into the kicking rules too. We have no fair catch up here. What's called no yards. We actually have to. So the guy catching it, the defensive team, the kicking team, has to give a 5-yard bubble. Otherwise, it's called the no yards, and it's a 15-yard penalty. So it used to be one of those like incidentals, or if the ball was on the ground, it was 5 yards. Then if it was intentional, it's 15. But they got just a straight 15 now. And then two more things with the kicking. So every form of kicking, kickoffs, punts, and field goals are all potentially returnable by, like, they're all onside potentially or whatever. So the punter, field goal kicker, and anyone else behind the kicker can return the ball at any time, which got us into this funky rule that apparently in the CFL rule book, as long as you pass the line of scrimmage after punting it, it's a first down. So what it was they would throw it out to the receiver. He'd catch it, punt it to himself, dribble a yard at the first line of scrimmage, hop on it, and that is a first down by our rule book. And that's caused some, what is the rule? Like, what is that?
I've seen videos of people talking about this.
Yeah, I'm all for if it passes the first down line or 10 yards. Something like the kickoff, because you have to go 10 yards on the kickoff, right? Something like that. If you did that, okay, fine. But when a guy who has got it's 4th and 30 and they're giving him or 3rd and 30 and it's tons of space and he just kicks it to himself and it's a first down, it's a little cheesy for me. But other than that, it's great. Our coach, Mike O'Shea, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers head coach, special teams expert. He played everything. He pulled out a trick play a few years ago because I didn't even know field goals were unsideable. He had a player hide on the sideline that looked not really in the field of play, but there's no rule at that time saying he had to check in. So the field goal kicker intentionally squibbed it so he would run and get it. Instead of getting 3, we got the touchdown. They then changed the rule that now players have to come to the huddle and then leave, but he could still do that play. And and then so that's pretty much. And then again, the wider fields, not a rule difference, but kick returns, man. It's there's some guys in this league that anytime they catch the ball, they got a chance to go deep. And again, which is I get safety, but it's a shame the NFL it's commercial, kickoff, touchback, commercial, right? And it just slows it down. And another kicking rule, actually, kind of I'll throw this into kicking. So, and they were talking about kind of modifying this year. I haven't heard anything more, but after a touchdown, you kick it off. But after a field goal, the receiving team actually has the choice to get the kickoff or just start at the 40. It used to be the 35, and they just changed it at the 40. The talk was they were talking about doing it for any scoring play, that you could take the chance to do it after a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Just not so it would only be kickoffs. Start the game, start the half, and with our 3-minute warning is our warning. So within the 3 minutes of the second and fourth quarter, you have to kick it off because you have to do that for field goals too. But the fans again were like, you're getting rid of our one good thing. But if it's for player safety, and there's something like a 39.1 was the average start position after a kickoff this year. So starting at the 40, is it really any different? But there's some teams, like I said, if you got a guy that's hot running back there, you might just say, screw it, I want this to get kicked to me, right? So
yeah, you got that space. They're out.
Yeah. I think that's got clock rules. We have 1 foot is a catch instead of the 2. We're more like college, I guess. U.S. college. We have college OT rules, the same kind of that shootout in regular season. Each team gets 2 tries. After that, it's a tie game if the score isn't done.
I'm surprised by that one. Every other rule seems real productive to point scoring and offense. That one, I'm surprised it's not just a battle right there.
I think again, it probably comes down to player safety. At what point do you call it? Because again, playoffs and Grey Cup, man, you go, it's all night, right?
Well, their season's a lot longer too, correct?
I think if you count them all together, it's equal. We have 18 games with 3 buys. We put 21 weeks, but our playoffs is shorter, so I think it's about the same amount of weeks as NFL if you want to be technical. But yes, we've had 18 games for a while now. No complaining about it here. 9 teams play 18 games. I don't know how that math works. The team has to buy every week somehow. It's the stupidest thing ever. We'll talk. There's a question that we'll talk about maybe later if we have 2 minutes.
We will.
Yeah, and yes, we either need some team needs to defunct or go to the UFL, or just we need to add a 10th team because this 9 teams is stupid. But I get it. And so we have 2 divisions, East and West. West has 5. You got the BC Lions, Saskatchewan Roughriders, Calgary Stampeders, Edmonton Elks, Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And the East, you got 4, Toronto Argonauts, Montreal LOS, defending Grey Cup champs, Hamilton Ticats, and the Ottawa Red Blacks. So then our playoffs, top 3 each division make it. 3 goes to 2, and the 1 gets the bye, and so forth. One interesting thing, we have a crossover, though. So if the 4th team in either division is better than the 3rd in the other, they get that spot.
Better record-wise?
Better record, yeah.
Gotcha.
So a tie goes to the team in the division, but if the other team had like a 1 win more, or a tie more, or draw, whatever, they get the spot. So historically, the West Division's been a little stronger in having 5 teams. It's only actually ever been a West team going to the East. An East team has never went to the West yet, but we've never had a West Grey Cup yet.
So that can happen, though.
It can happen. It can happen. So it was a few years ago, I think it was the first time the West team even won the first game, like the first round, and played in the division finals, and then they lost. But every year, yeah. This was actually the first year in a while that we had 3 teams from each division. The East was a lot better this year, which is good for the league. And then I think that's all I have right now, unless I'm missing something. there's like slight different, like little things with the penalty. Like we call it's procedure instead of delay a game. We don't really have encroachment. We call illegal contact on a receiver instead of defensive holding. Little things like that, but essentially it's all the same.
How is your quarterback protection compared to the NFL's? Like, how do they, do you have to stay off that QB? NFL, it's really don't hit the QB unless it's absolutely necessary.
Don't hit the QB, but I'll give them that. I think it's a little bit more consistent than sometimes what you see in the NFL, where certain guys get certain calls, and it happens here too. But for the most part, the QB. If the ball's clearly out of his hands, like, if you push him, fine. But if you're full blown running through him, it's usually the 15. They have the same running rules. They slide feet first, don't hit him, kind of thing. So, but there's guys, the Blue Bombers just re-signed one guy who spent some time in the NFL, Chris Streveler, who he doesn't slide feet first. He's put his head down. So, there's definitely guys like that too. So.
It's all fun and games till you get a concussion.
Yeah, that's true too.
Oh, I love a running quarterback, but it just doesn't seem to be productive long term, especially career wise.
Oh yeah.
So I guess we can get to the questions, man. That's a lot of rule differences for me being an American. I'm going to tell you, and I've looked into it before we met up because I wasn't familiar with them all. I'm not going to lie. And
I did my job good. My girlfriend never watched football, and then now she's a diehard Blue Bomber. I call her diehard, but then anytime I watch NFL on Sunday, she's like, "Wait, why wasn't that a rouge? Why didn't they get the point? Or why are they waving when they catch it?" And I'm like, I did a good job that you don't even know the NFL rules. I did fine. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you're making me so happy like right now.
If I showed my girlfriend CFL, she wouldn't even know what the hell it was or where it came from. But seriously. But yeah, she's a I guess I'll say Redskins fan.
Okay.
So tells you about her taste there. Just kidding. Oh, but anyway, man, let's hop to some questions if you're ready. We've been on for an hour. Trying to keep these interviews short and sweet, but man, it's been engagement the whole time, and like those rules were good.
To me, it's better to go over 20 minutes than being under 20 minutes, man. If we ended at 15 minutes, why even post this, man? Or why even be here? So
Yep. I'm always up for the real discussion, actually asking the real questions, and like I said, not just presenting something for someone to think. The discussion really goes a long way.
Exactly.
DeMarcus said, "What happened to Winnipeg in that championship game? I had them winning the Grey Cup halfway through the season."
So did 90% of not 90%. 90% of Winnipeg did, maybe 100% of Winnipeg. A lot of people had them in Toronto and in the finals, and Toronto just didn't have a good game in the East Final. And Winnipeg, man, you could chalk a lot of it up to the field and the rules we talked about, but God Almighty, does Winnipeg have a Swiss cheese defense? They just for years the to play at night, they call it bend don't break. They give up a lot of yards, a lot of field position, but they get tight down in the defense. And because they got the rules again, teams actually go for it a lot on third. Oh, I forgot one rule. One rule that makes a heck of a difference. On the line of scrimmage, you got to give the defense has to give a yard. So our third, when we have you guys got the Americans got the push and the all that, we go 3rd and inches hard every play, because when you get that yard, right, it should be a given. Anything less than 30 yards. So offenses will get greedy down in the red zone and stuff, especially when they're like, if it's 3rd and inches on the goal line, the defense has to start behind the goal line. And sometimes you get an offside or something silly, and you get an extra play, and it's wild. So that's that. But because of that, we got a Swiss cheese defense, the Bombers, and it's just, they make some good plays, but the defense, the offense wholeheartedly, and I'm trying to be a homer here, but they got a good offense. They had an abundance of Canadians at skilled positions, which with that ratio, having a running back that's a Canadian is crazy. Like there are some, but to have the one that's running for the most yards in Brady Oliveira, local Winnipegger, crazy. Nick Dembski's our receiver, one of our slot receivers, local Winnipegger, played in South Dakota or North Dakota, one of those schools, something like that. We have Drew Wollartarski. He's one of those fancy Canadians that I said that's not really a Canadian. His mom's Canadian. So he's a receiver too. And then you add an offensive lineman is usually one of those positions where you really try to find Canadians. That's 5 or 6 Canadians right there. So our defense should be full of Americans that are like, but it just hasn't always been there. And because of that, back-to-back Grey Cup losses. But we were for a 9-team league, we went 29 years without winning a Grey Cup from 1990 to 2019. And then to say we won back-to-back seasons in 2019 and then 2021 after a canceled season, and to be in 4 straight, I'll take it.
Good answer. Good answer. Anything else on this before I roll to the next one?
Well, yeah, just a fun joke because someone asked about American teams. An American team had won more recently the Grey Cup than the Blue Bombers did before 2019. So, yeah, we'll talk about that maybe.
Is that the next? Let's just roll into that.
Yeah, keep rolling. Keep rolling.
Let's go into that.
This
is the one. Yeah, remember the San Antonio Texans CFL team played here back in 1995.
There was actually multiple American teams. Let me just pull them up because I always forget.
He said, "Wonder if there are any potential to expanding in the U.S. again," and that's from the Brahma Bulletin.
I don't know. The fans definitely don't want it because that 95-96 expansion or whatever it was has been like it's a classified failure from the fan aspect. There was one team that I'll give huge respect for, and that's the Baltimore Stallions. They won the 1995 Grey Cup, and if it probably wasn't for them, I think that's what reintroduced the Ravens.
Gotcha.
To the city. So they came in after the Colts went to Indiana, and then because of that, their Grey Cup run really solidified that. But yeah, you had San Antonio, Shreveport, Birmingham, Memphis, Sacramento, and Las Vegas. And so again, all these Southern teams, it just doesn't make sense to me. We've talked about it on our show. If you're gonna do it, maybe some of the northern states, some of those like North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Utah, something that doesn't have an NFL team. We don't think we want to compete with that, but something that has this maybe in order because college is big down there. Something where they could share the college because of the schedule season being a little different. Maybe it would work, something like that. But honestly, I think keeping it within I personally think keeping it within Canadian borders probably the best. And then you get into sticky things with the ratio rule. I don't think the ratio is legal in America to have a mandatory amount of Canadians. So then you open up stuff for that.
Yeah. Sounds like a mess. Even like player wise for taxes, it seems like that would be a mess alone.
It already is a mess because most of the players being an American, and I think they get paid US dollars. Like that's what it is for the salary cap. So it's
Gotcha. Let's roll on. Michael said Eastern expansion ? How hasn't the games in Halifax led to a potential ownership group?
From what I heard, there's no one that's willing to just take it. The last thing the commissioner said. Oh, sorry if you can hear my kid. He's past bedtime.
You're good, bro.
It's the commissioner of the CFL, Randy Ambrosi, said Halifax has got a limited, limited clock here. And otherwise, we're going to start looking elsewhere. Quebec City's been another one. Quebec's one of those provinces that they have a big love for our university football, so they could probably have another one. I know there's some people who push around Southern Ontario where 80-90% of Canada's population lives in Southern Ontario. Some people said another one in Saskatchewan. I don't buy that. Some people have talked another one in BC. We're having a game in Kamloops, BC this year. That's like Touchdown Pacific or something. It's the first year in a while we haven't had Touchdown Atlantic. They always try to stage a game in Atlantic Canada. But I think they're playing a game of we're not going to do it this year unless one of your ownership groups step forward and really make a bid because we need a 10th team. Like I said, just get balancing schedule, just legitimacy, betting, having 5 games a week instead of 4 and 3 some games. It would just be so much better. But I would love Halifax. The one thing too that's kind of different between the two leagues, the Grey Cup is like a fan driven party where the Super Bowl is like what, $10,000 a ticket. You're not like average people don't go to the Super Bowl. And if you do, it's your once in a lifetime thing, right?
Yeah, you're spending a lot of cash.
Right. Grey Cup, $300-$400 if you're behind the bench. Probably get some upper deck for a couple hundred.
Oh, that's sweet.
Some tickets are probably close to the same as a hotel, and it's not crazy. You're not breaking the bank. People, when I last went to one, there was a lady in her 80s at the time, and she'd been to 40 or 50. Like it's a thing that people have went to since they go to as many as they can. I could say I went to five or six, I guess, in my life. Which, again, how many 29-year-olds are going to say they went to 5 or 6 Super Bowls, right? Not many.
None. Yeah.
Unless you're playing in them, and I don't think you are. So, that's one thing too. And just to have 10 teams. So, but the Schooners, this unofficial Atlantic Schooners, puts probably the best party on. Every team kind of puts a party on, and there's this Atlantic Schooners, and it's just the best. You get to do the Newfoundland kiss the fish. They got like lobster on a bun. They got the fiddling. It's great, man. It's the best party to go to.
Sounds intense, dude.
Yeah. And you're just in a convention center, and every room, every team has a party, and you got to go to the Schooners at some point.
Before I move on to another question,
yeah,
we were talking back when I met with you and Ryan previous, and you were talking about how cold it was. Can you share that?
Let me see here. So there's some games that get a little cold.
I mean, compared to my cold, your cold is way different, sir.
I got to try to get the conversion out here because I'm not too good with the Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion. But
no, you're good. Take your time. No worries.
Yeah. So let's see here. This last year's playoff game here in Winnipeg, which would have been second week of November, probably would have been around -10 to -15 Celsius, so about 14 Fahrenheit.
You're like, that's not too bad.
I wore shorts.
Oh no, sir. No,
I wore shorts to the game, and I was sober. And then 2022's Grey Cup in Regina, that might have been closer to the -20 Celsius, which is -4 Fahrenheit, according to this. And that I definitely wore shorts, but I definitely wasn't sober. So I made it. But yeah, and then the 1 year too, because we had a delayed start after the pandemic. The Grey Cup was in December, and it was in Hamilton, Southern Ontario. Again, probably around the 14, 15, maybe 20 Fahrenheit. But in the week before, the West Final in Winnipeg, -20, 25 with wind chill Celsius, tons of snow. We don't throw the snowballs like the Buffalo fans do, but the players definitely throw the snow into the crowd sometime. And there's the shirtless guys in the end zone just soaking it in. So it's definitely different with the cold. I'm all for moving the season up. There's no reason why we should start in June weather-wise instead of April, May. Our soccer leagues up here start in April, May. Baseball starts in April, May. No reason why our football can't start a little earlier. Have Grey Cup maybe first week of November or at least October. But again, they put it in the CBA that they can move it up the season max of 30 days or something. So, but they haven't invoked that yet.
Yeah, that we had a spring football season a few years ago with AAF, and it started earlier than what spring football has in the past, in my opinion. Yeah. And that was too cold for me. I think we were talking about at the most, man, 30s maybe. Nothing crazy.
Don't get me wrong. Those games in July and August, there's some games where I'm too hot. You know what I mean? It's 90, 80, 90 degrees.
Yeah, that's too much.
Winnipeg, we have the wildest temperature range. We could be +40 Celsius in the summer. That's my conversion is. What's that? 104 Fahrenheit to Google. But then we could also hit -40, which is -40 Fahrenheit in the winter, right? So we have an 80-degree swing, man, and at times, and with wind chill and with Hudson's Bay and all the crazy weather stuff, we get nipply. But this year's been warm. Like, we're back to the negatives now, but we lost all our snow, which is weird to say February. So
wow,
the groundhog definitely didn't see his shadow. So.
But usually it doesn't get cold very often where I'm at in the South at all. We may have a little bit of 40, 50 degree weather, but nothing crazy. But the past couple of years, dude, it's been relentless down here.
Hot or cold?
Both. Either way, it depends on the season.
Climate change is maybe not global warming, but there's some definitely climate change. There's definitely some weird weather patterns over the last few years, and we got rain the other day. Rain in February here. That doesn't happen. And then it snowed the next day. So it's like snow and February happens, but rain, no.
It's been freezing here. I mean, it has. I think at this point it's all passed by, but we had so many freezing days in a row Man, you would never have days freezing when I was growing up, ever. But you could dream of snow. You'll never get it, seriously. But it's interesting to know the difference. And he said you were short. Did you at least have a jacket on when you went?
No, I had my jersey, my hoodie, my bunny hug. We call that a bunny hug up here. My hoodie and I just wore my Vans with socks.
The old bunny hug, huh? I'm gonna start using that, man.
Yeah, it's a Saskatchewan term, man. But I grew up really close to Saskatchewan geography wise. I grew up in a town right in the middle of Winnipeg and Regina, right along the border. So all the Saskatchewan twang is deeply in that. And my bunny hug, I love using that. Where my girlfriend, she's from the other side of the province. She's like, "What the hell is that?"
It's interesting to hear your cultures, the difference. It's just the same way here. It's just a different thing, same stuff. Yeah, I'm from the South, considered what's called country. I use a lot of terms, and it'll have the twang and twang.
I worked with a guy once from Texas, man. It was the greatest thing ever. I could barely understand a word he said. It was like plus 80, plus 90, and he was wearing a sweater, like not a sweater, but a long sleeve shirt, because he was like, "It's cold here. This is our weather, and our we have like hotter and hot weather. Like that's just 3 seasons. This is like hot." And I'm sitting there like sweating my ass off, and I'm like, I can't do this. But
very similar to here from what he was saying. That's what it used to be like, at least. All right, moving on. KJ Disciple said, "Has Alaska ever been considered for having an expansion team, being closer to most teams over the NFL ones?"
Not anything official. I've definitely heard some jokes and rumor, like whatever, the funny Twitter pranks, but nothing official. I think it wouldn't. I don't think America would work in general, just because it would throw the ratio off a little bit. So
changes the whole shape of a team.
Yeah,
having to get them in there to live.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know what it's like up there, but I mean, if I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know either personally, but I've knew people that were there, over my life, and you've got normal spots, but it's just a lot more barren. There's not as much there.
Yeah, right now our most northern team is Edmonton, which is fairly north, Alberta, but nothing crazy. Like it's, yeah.
Last question I got right here.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the ongoing media discussion on Boomer? Say, what's his last name? Say his last name for me so I don't royally screw it up.
I don't even know. I know what you're talking about, but I have no idea.
Okay, we're just going to say Boomer.
Yeah.
Boomer CFL comments.
I don't know. There's a whole other conversation we can have. There's like this, I don't know what to call them. I call them the CFL Karens of Twitter. Like every league has them. And they're the ones, again, that, you can't change the ratio. If it goes to 4 downs, I'm not watching anymore. You know what I mean? Those people who are like, you can't change, get rid of kicking. I don't care if it's for safety. And just, what are you complaining about? They are up in arms over it, right? And I could understand. I think, again, the American perception is that it's definitely a lower level league, but I'm also in the mindset also, if CFL players could play in the NFL, there must be one general manager out of the 32 that'd be smart enough to say, hey, if I honestly, look at Carolina, the Panthers, they were trash. So if you honestly thought the best CFL team could beat them, then why doesn't the general manager of the Carolina Panthers go and say to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Montreal Alouettes, I'll sign all of you today? Because to me, then you're one step better, right? And to me, there would be one general manager that would have the brains to do that, but they don't. So clearly, would it be a compelling game? I think the rules would screw everything up, but sure, if Carolina played the Grey Cup champions, whatever, sure, it might be a fun game. I still think Carolina would beat the living snot out of the Alouettes, right? It just is what it is. You got guys who played football. It's just different. But his comments, they're kind of spot on. Strevler wasn't the guy. Strevler, he's got a garbage arm. Like we were just talking about him earlier. He's the running quarterback. He's for all intents and purposes, he was our Lamar. Question on the arm, but he could run for 1,000 yards. So you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And Lamar's definitely kind of gotten a better arm. Strevler, he had his chance. He played, what was it first? Arizona, then the Jets, something like that, and then would move on. But yeah, the guy, when he said, "Oh, this isn't Canada," when he threw an interception. No, you're right, it isn't Canada. So that's a throw that Strevler got away with a lot up in Winnipeg, and he's not going to get away with it. And that's why you don't see many players moving down right now. Like the big one right now we talk about is Nathan Rourke, Canadian-born quarterback, played BC a couple of years. He was on Jacksonville and went to New England, and I don't even know how that is. The last player to really get it going was Alex Singleton. He plays for Denver, I believe. And he was Philly, but he was in Calgary and everything, and he's actually like breaking tackle records. But other than that, like, you know, you're not going to see guys down there, and for a reason. So I'm not too shocked on the comment, right?
I was trying to pull it up, what he said, but these damn sites with all their ads, I just have to click off of it.
It was something like after an interception, he just said something like, "Oh, this isn't the CFL. You can't do that throw." You know, something like that. And
Gotcha.
and he's right. And then I think in another interview, he doubled down on it. I mean, like, and I agree. There's a clear difference between the two leagues. There's a reason why the highest paid player in the NFL is $50 million in Mahomes or something like that, or even someone else. And the highest paid player in Canada is probably Caleros at $650,000, something like that. And or maybe, yeah, him and Kelly are up there like that. So it's, yeah, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to be proud of it, but you can recognize the differences and
Yeah.
see it's clear as day if you're a sports fan. If you're a homer,
yeah,
it's a little different.
But it works both ways. We've had guys like Ocho Cinco and Manziel come up here, and they couldn't stick. They couldn't get it. They weren't even good. They couldn't play in the CFL. Right? Manziel, he first went to Montreal, and Montreal, man, that's not a good place for a guy like Manziel to go who likes to party in Montreal. You know,
Yeah.
they got different strip club rules in Montreal than everywhere else, man. Like, so they don't have a you know, it's different down there. So that was a bad place for him to go. And Ocho Cinco said too, he thought it was going to be a breeze. Comes in and realizes, no, most of these guys could play in the NFL. There's just something preventing them. And it's that something preventing them, either like a troubled past. They're old now. And like, there's guys who benefit from the bigger field, the waggle, no fair catch, things like that the NFL doesn't know how to evaluate, probably, right? Like, does a guy who could do kick returns really benefit an NFL team? No. Does a guy who gets wide open because he gets a 10-yard head start run benefit? No, right? So it's a very tough. That's why
fills a job, but
yeah, it fills a job.
It doesn't. Yeah, there's not much place on the field.
I feel defense is the one because defense is the most same to me, but even then you got a little bit of differences.
Yeah, it's okay to recognize the differences, and it's just like any of the other smaller leagues. And I'm just using this as an example. You'll see some of these guys just ball out and go to do something else. Nothing, not nothing personal. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Glad we got that one. I think that was the last question I had. No, yep, that was the last one.
Yep.
It's been fun, man. I've really enjoyed speaking with you today. Seriously.
Oh yeah, same,
I appreciate
you.
You.
Love it.
I hope sometime I can visit Canada and check out a game. I'm going to shoot my best, but man, that's a long ways from me down here, dude.
Oh, no, I get it.
But yeah, anything else, man, you want to share or talk about before we roll off there?
And just check out our show on Tuesday, CF Countdowns Free Agency. Ryan's put a lot of work into booking guests and his fantasy trackers and all, fantasy and free agent trackers. Again, just check out the other guys. Mike doesn't post heck of a lot. It's all hockey stuff. You want to learn about Manitoba junior hockey, same with Adam and his senior hockey. Adam's farming stuff is the way to go, though. And you want to check out horse racing and stuff like that, check me out. UFC too. I was actually not doing too bad today. There's UFC on today, and I was doing okay. I had a big bounce back. I've been doing really garbage this year, but
I used to be a big UFC guy, but I haven't paid attention in a few years.
No, I'll admit I got on the Connor train. I was big.
Gotcha.
I'd only watch Connor, and then when he, laughed and did I've only watched one boxing match, and it's him and Mayweather. Like, that's the only thing I don't even remember it. I was blackout drunk at some bar with my friends trying to fight people who bet on Mayweather, and like it was wild. And then with him being gone, but then I was like, I started getting slowly back into it. Got some new favorites, and then I was like, you know what? There's not tons of Canadian coverage of it, and that's why I thought, screw it, I'll start a podcast. And again, it's weird. Like, again, I'm sure you get it. You start something and you think if one person listens, it's good. And I think I've had 4 or 5 episodes, 200 and some views over that time. I'm like, okay, someone's listening, and
yeah,
it's starts.
That's why you keep going, right?
Oh yeah. Same with my horse racing one, man. If I was happy if one person watched it, my boss signs my checks, he likes it, okay. And we're almost a year later, and we're still going strong. So
the horse racing, that's unique for sure. But if people are interested in everything, and if you can reach them productively, you're going to have a following. I like the fact, like with my show as well as y'all's, you can really interact with your fans. You can talk, just like a lot of these questions today. It brings out topics of subjects that we wouldn't talk about normally. And then, like Mike G said, the thing with Boomer Esiason.
Okay.
I don't know why I want to say that like I'm Japanese or something, but
yeah,
that's good to know as well. So yeah, it's Boomer Esiason. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Mike said, "Nice chatting with you, Trey."
Oh yeah, thanks, man. Now you know it's my show. It's my show, man.
Yeah, now he knows you. The fans at home should know who you are as well at this point.
Good stuff.
It's been a pleasure, dude. I appreciate it again. I'll make sure to put all y'all's links in the notes. And then guys at home, if you want to check out and follow them, look at their pages, look at the Podbean. I see that's when you really get a lot of action there on Podbean. Check that out, guys. But either way, good creators, great content. Look forward to you guys providing the CFL coverage this season. It should be a good time.
Well, anytime. If you or any of the fans need anything, always reach out, tweet, DM, whatever, man. I'll try my best.
Yes, sir. Will do, man.
I'm the betting expert, but I wouldn't. We have a saying: "Don't bet the farm." That's all we have. Don't ever bet the farm on anything we say.
You gotta bet the farm. You got a problem. Anyway, that's my opinion.
What we figured out, we said something about bet the ant farm because they're about $20. That's the biggest as we'll go.
Balls to the wall.
Yeah.
It's been fun, man. Thank you again. Look forward to y'all's content. Check them out Tuesday, guys, live for 8 hours, almost 9. Anything else you want to say for your role, dude?
I just hope the 49ers win. I don't want to see Taylor Swift. That's my closing remarks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, buddy. Take it easy. Appreciate you. Appreciate that. Good interview, man. I wasn't planning on going this long with the interview series, but this whole conversation has been super productive. Great guy, great group. Check them out, seriously. It's been rolling throughout the show at the bottom, all their socials and such, but I'll make sure to include everything in the notes if you haven't. They're on the AFN website as well as our other partners that I've had flashing at the bottom also. Looking forward to what they do this season. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you greatly. If you watched the episode, thank you for watching. If you're watching after the fact, thank you for watching as well. Trying to get over a little cold here and went to Mardi Gras, so my voice is kind of scratchy. So apologies if I'm coming in and out or whatever. Let's see, we got another comment. Thanks, Brahma Bulletin. Appreciate you watching, man. Seriously. He said, Brahma Bulletin said, great show as always. Thank you, dude. Seriously. Appreciate everybody watching, chatting, attending, interacting. It's a good time, and I love it. Come back Tuesday. We'll have Horns Forward podcast on for the UFL Insiders podcast. It'll be a change of pace. We're going to go more UFL themed, but we should have a good show there. They got a large crew. Should be a good time. So I look forward to that. Come check that out. 7:30 p.m. Central. It'll be live as well. It's live YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and then everywhere else it'll be put after that live show. Thanks again for watching. It's always a pleasure. Appreciate UFL Board. Good partners. We do a lot with each other and help each other. So thank you, UFL Board. I appreciate you greatly and everything you do and have done. I think that's it. Oh, thanks to the partners. I appreciate you guys. Every single show that we have. Thank you so much. Oh, that's contributors. Let me take that down. Appreciate you so much. And I appreciate you too, contributors, but I'm working on a few other people. So I'm trying to get them in the fold before I officially release everyone's name and what they do and whatnot. So that's kind of what's going on there. Should have an article written within the next 2 weeks about our team and kind of what we represent and what we hope to do. So check for that on the website as well. If you guys at home are interested in anything, message me. Any platform is fine, but it may take me a couple days to answer. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to do. So just keep that in mind. I appreciate your support. Appreciate you repping whatever league you like, whatever it is, whether it's CFL, XFL, UFL, whatever. Thank you. Keep up being good people, doing good things, and let's get this football world started. It's been fun, guys. Trying to think. Follow on YouTube, please. Trying to get those numbers up a little bit. It's been a little lacking, and that's okay. We're spread out everywhere, so it's a little different for us. But the YouTube seems like a good one, and there's a lot of people that really interact with stuff on there as well. So please follow, like, and share. Thank you again for listening. It's been a pleasure. I am Matthew Tyler, and that is it for me. Thanks again.
Go hard, go home, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home, go hard, go hard, go home. Touchdown like an end zone. When the circle turn to my home, can't get me out of my zone. Go hard, go home.